December 1989, the event occurred in Hong Kong's North District, which was an international municipality in the New Territories. There was an old restaurant called Kong Cha that specialized in various types of appealing cuisine, but generally only offered char siu, rice and pho. Another day, Sheng, a young guy working at the restaurant, received a call to order food for 4 people, including pho and grilled pork rice with eggs. "It's at number C, building B in the Garden Plaza, isn't it? Okay, I'll deliver it to you right now." Sheng instantly grabbed a pen and notepad to jot down the address. He then proceeded to deliver food to clients. This address wasn't difficult to find, so Sheng didn't have to spend too much time to look for it. It was an ancient building, it was chilly, and appeared like it hadn't been occupied in a long time. When he arrived at the correct address, he raised his hand and rang the doorbell. A blast of wind blew, sending shivers down his spine. But the doorbell rang for a long time. No one opened the door, and the posters strewn in front of the door indicated that this home had appeared to be abandoned for a long time. Sheng rang the doorbell many times more, but no one replied or opened the door. Sheng wondered if he had misspelled the address, since the restaurant had been quite busy before. Thinking he'd been scammed, he turned his back to return to the restaurant, but as he did, a voice in the room sounded from behind Sheng. It sounded like someone was attempting to open the door. He thought he heard a voice, but it was foggy and indistinct. The door suddenly opened with a creak, accompanied by a terrible sound made Sheng nervous. The door was opened to expose a small gap, but the interior was so dark that Sheng couldn't see what was inside. The person inside only spoke in a low, raspy voice and very slightly opened the door, as though no one was permitted to peek inside. Then that person handed a banknote through the gap of the door. This person's hand was really odd. Even though the person opened the door slightly and placed the money outside, Sheng couldn't see who it was. It appeared to be a male. Sheng carefully examined the note. There was no issue. Sheng thought the man was strange when he instructed him to leave the meal at the door. That night, the restaurant was being cleaned up and getting ready to close. While auditing the income and expenses for the day, the owner noticed something odd. He discovered a joss paper among real money. He had no idea where this note originated from, but it made him feel extremely uneasy. Who is taking part in this game? Why is there a joss paper here? Mr. Lee displayed the note to the employees and cautioned them. He suspected that real money had been switched for joss paper. He tried to mention it aloud so that the staff wouldn't do it again, but he became enraged and tossed the joss paper in the garbage. The next day, an order for dinner came from that address again, and they ordered the restaurant to serve them the same meal as yesterday. The owner promptly confirmed the order and asked Sheng to continue delivering. However, the situation with food delivery remained same from yesterday. Money was still given through the door gap, and food was still requested to be put at the door. The people inside were still not revealing themselves.
"Who did it? Do you think I'm a moron?"
The owner's voice continued to yell loudly. The reason was that he spotted a joss paper again at night. Seeing the boss was so upset, Sheng then informed him about the unusual food delivery to that address. For a long time, the owner reasoned that if the residents in that house continued to order meals from the restaurant, he would find out the truth. The next day, as predicted, there was an order from that address again. The owner personally delivered the meal to the location and received the cash from the door gap. He picked up the bill and carefully examined it, flipping it back and forth, but he couldn't see anything suspicious about it. The owner, like Sheng, placed food at the door. He hastily grabbed the money and departed, his face now full of contemplation mixed with bewilderment. Returning to the store, he placed the money aside, this time to observe if anything odd happened, in order to prevent the same misunderstanding as the previous 2 times. After the owner had completed calculating other income, he glanced at the bills in the evening, but what he saw shocked him. This occurrence terrified him so much that he dropped his cigarette and his mouth wide open as if he had witnessed something awful. Those seemingly regular money notes he had placed in a different corner of the table had now been transformed into joss papers once more. The owner was so terrified that he yelled to the police in a quivering voice, "Police! It's me! Something awful has occurred. Please be here as soon as possible." Following to what the owner said, the police hurried to the location, but they discovered that the doorbell was entirely broken and no one came to open the door. The cops had to use force to smash the door down. However, once inside, they discovered that the door was locked from the inside, but the horrifying image in front of their eyes caused them all to fear. There was a mahjong table in the middle of the room and some dead people next to it. They died in a big puddle of dried blood. These people had been dead for a long time, and their corpses had shrunk, leaving just dry skeletons, and their flesh had disintegrated. Based on the conditions at the site, they were most likely using a coal burner in the room to keep warm, but ended up inhaling poisonous gas. Because these people lived very private lives and didn't interact with anyone, no one discovered their bodies. But the empty lunchboxes littered throughout the room gave the cops pause, because everyone in the room was dead. So, who ate the food? These corpses were discovered and transported to the mortuary for forensic testing, confirming that they had been dead for more than a week, although the food in their stomachs had only been there for 2 days, which was rice and fur. The test findings astounded the whole Hong Kong police force. The dead man's fingerprints were also discovered on Mr. Lee's joss papers. Soon after, this odd event traveled across Hong Kong and was published by various media outlets. The occurrence became a riddle that the police could not solve. It had become the Hong Kong's police sole publicly acknowledged super mysterious case in decades. According to the Feng Shui shaman, the spirits of the dead could not leave the building where the incident occurred since there was no sunshine, so they constantly felt they were still alive, and sometimes people still could hear them. That room was filled with the sound of mahjong players.